I absolutely agree with that, actually. I know everyone's hyping up herO a lot because of his recent, victories, but I've witnessed him many times look dominating one day and then really weirdly bad the other day because his builds were like countered perfectly, right?
Yeah.
And I think it definitely happened either from Dark or a laser. I still feel like herO's the one that's got to be a little afraid, but this guy, I mean, that's kind of him. He's actually not afraid to do anything. Cannon rush, pylon rush, charge out rush, like it doesn't matter. He does it.
And he's more build order centric, like you were saying. Like he's known for his micro. He's no slouch there either, but definitely it feels like when you're facing him, he has a strong idea of how he's going to handle you, and then the game is decided on that idea. Whereas with other players, they're more, like Stats is defensive, and he'll absorb your idea. And then, for herO, it's a little bit more decisive. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about this is we kind of get into is like we've talked about this story of not having a returning champion for like the guy that's the person that's won BlizzCon, but you do have Dark, who was the runner-up last year, who some people had some very choice words for the way that certain things like Reapers and whatnot were working at the time, and he has it's a huge opportunity for him to come back and not have to deal with any one player that's so dominant like a Beyond that nobody knew how to deal with.
Well, Nate, your point is so right on a few levels. For me, I think Dark is one of the most distant runner-ups we've had in a while, where like even the accomplishment of taking second was outshined by how amazing the accomplishment from Beyond was.
Yeah.
He's this big personality, he was very emotional. The year was huge for him. And then people are like, oh yeah, Dark took second. But it's like, it feels like such a huge afterthought. This year, he could put the eyes on himself and say, I am the best.
I love that you mentioned the Reaper thing because, of course, everyone's talking about our Oracle's the new Reaper, and it's like, well, Dark actually lost BlizzCon because of Reaper, so he's going to lose it again to Oracles. This guy just like, never gets any luck.
Well, let's find out. Is herO going to use his use Oracles to perhaps microwave Dark out of his chance to get to the BlizzCon round of 8? We are about to see. It is time for Dark versus herO. Let's go to the casters.
Thanks, guys. Are Oracles the new Reapers? Is that what are we gonna be finding that out today? I don't know. I am Pig. With me is Todd, and we have a very exciting PVZ that's about to come up. Are Oracles the new Reapers, Todd?
I don't even know what to say to this. They're very different than one another. I guess what they symbolize in a way is that by saying that is that they are very good, obviously, and they can be hard to counter. But yeah.
We see a lot
Dark
of them
did have a tough time against the Reapers, and he's not at the easiest time against Oracles, but I definitely would say it's quite different, though. Like, obviously, being more of a later game unit that you can still master. I don't know, like, I don't feel like Oracles are necessarily the biggest thing he should worry about when playing against herO, because herO is definitely capable of throwing in a lot of big gateway aggressions, whether it's charge loss or adepts, so we'll see.
Many different aggressive moves that can come out, of course. The bag of tricky builds from this player up here in the top left-hand side of Ascension to Aya. Representing Root Gaming, it is herO.
His opponent in the red, playing for Team Ballistics, it is Dark.
Dark and herO there. Swapping seats momentarily, but that's all good. We are going to be diving into Ascension to Aya. It is a bigger map. It's a map where we've seen a lot of those combination Oracle Adept attacks from herO. You were saying it just before, there are so many different moves he can go for, and is that a gas first?
Yeah.
Wow.
You didn't scout early, so you can actually afford to go for gas first without necessarily affect your mineral mining that much. herO on this map, actually, like as much as we talk a lot about Oracles, Adepts I think are very good because there's so much distance between the bases. They are so far apart that if you actually start shading Adepts all over the place, what Zerg's supposed to do, right? Their fastest unit early on is going to be the Speedlings, but Speedlings by themselves have a hard time dealing with the depths, so then you have to rely on Queens, maybe Banelings, and then the Protoss is already setting up the pace by doing that. It's very hard to defend, so we'll see. Like herO, like I said, we talk a lot about Oracles, but herO, in so many of his games, he goes for a lot of gateways, and usually either Adepts with Glaives or Zealots with Charge.
Those powerful aggressive combinations have been the secret to his success and what makes him such a difficult player to play against. No doubt, many things running through Dark's head in terms of how he can counter that. Dark, on the other hand, a very defensive-focused player, and similar to players, pretty much all the Zergs in this tournament at this level, he loves his Overlord speed. He loves to scout exactly what's going on, but he's also going to have to keep an eye out for proxies. Maybe not on this map, but especially on maps like Abyssal Reef, we've seen herO hide a lot of tech in the corners of the map, sometimes just plop down about 5 gateways in a corner, and do a very sneaky rush that way. So we're really looking at this series as herO setting the pace in terms of what does he try to attack Dark with. How is Dark going to scout that? How will he respond it, and will he be able to shut it down?
I completely agree with you. The key for Dark to win here is going to be in scouting and defending whatever herO is going to be throwing at him. Then again, herO is such a tricky guy. You know, like if he gets scouted, sometimes he'll cancel his tech. Like if he gets an early Twilight scouted, for example, after starting a Stargate, I've seen him cancel the Twilight and add additional Stargates instead. Sometimes you'll scout that he's being aggressive, but then he'll go into macro instead. You know, Chrono Boost out a whole bunch of probes, take more bases, and then take super hard. So he's a very hard guy to read. Usually, if you go into Nemetized Carapace and have some consistent overlords flying above his base, is going to be one good way to try and see what he's doing. But he could very well go into a Void Ray after the 2 initial oracles that we usually see out of the Stargates. In which case, he denies this Overlord. And actually, it's a straight Void Ray here in this game.
Wow, okay, looking to deny the Overlords. Maybe just saying, you know what, I really want to stop you from scouting what I do. I know you're going to get Overlord speed, but if I have a Void Ray out, the moment that first Overlord comes in, I can actually hunt them down. And there's going to be a real dance between, can the Void Ray hunt down all the Overlords, or is Dark still going to be able to scout in there and see what the follow-up is? I wouldn't be surprised to see 2 more Stargates with the very fast gases going down in the
natural. Or maybe mass gateways as well, it's possible. But yeah, since he's taking the gases, you're right. It's hinting more towards more Stargates and more gas-orientated armies there. The fact that Dark is getting Nemetized Carapace, I think, should help him scout. Did that complete already?
And it looks like
he cancelled. He was on the production tab for a second. That's why it made me curious. I was like, he couldn't have finished yet. No, so he cancelled that. That's going to mean even less scouting. Twilight Council is going to go down. I'm feeling those glaives.
You know what? I think... And Dark actually restarts the upgrade now. Wow, some odd decision-making. Maybe a misclick from Dark. Not 100% sure what the thinking there is. And, you know, he has seen the 4 gases. He knows it's not going to be the fastest possible rush, but hey, you are playing herO. He could easily have pulled off those gases the moment the Overlord died, still plopped down a bunch of gateways, but it looks like a much more standard follow-up. Forge, Twilight, Robo. This is obviously going to give him the ability to go into either +1 charge lots or adepts, as well as warp prisms, but I think we're definitely going to see a 3rd base as well.
Yeah, and the Robo already, most likely for a Warp Prism that you can reinforce heavily across the map. I feel like that 3rd might even be a fake. He's on 45 probes. So now is the moment we're going to see how many gateway he makes, and we'll basically learn whether he wants to be super aggressive with this or not. A 3rd Nexus doesn't necessarily mean macro, right? Like usually you're trying to sell a story where if he doesn't get the 3rd Nexus, then Dark will only make units and then defend the 2 base.
This is such a weird situation with only the Void Ray poking around the map. Yeah, it's killed an Overlord or 2, but the Oracle only being used for defense. That Mothership Core is now starting up. I really don't feel like an all-in would be too powerful here from herO. He's restarting probe production.
Famous last words.
+1. I mean, if you look at this, it's like there's no pressure that he's hit Dark with, right? Dark, yeah, he's not seeing everything, but his Zerglings are so active. He's going to see the moment anything moves out. And even now, unsure whether or not herO is going to commit to that 3rd, he's building a big wave of Zerglings just to be safe.
It would be very smart for herO to play to his image. I mean, we haven't seen any additional gateways, so he hasn't committed, you know, to like something like 7, 8 gates. So it might be smart for him to just stay on charge, kind of fake that he's going to want to be super aggressive, and then go into High Templars and Storms, with which he's very, very good at hitting timings, especially against Zergs that make units too early, which is kind of what happened here. For Dark, 51 drones against 49 probes. That's not where you want to be.
Wow.
And he's still making links.
But Dark is actually, he's loaded 4 Queens into an Overlord there. He does have a Baneling Nest, I believe. It looks like he's going to do one of these big Queen-Ling Bane busts, trying to take down herO's 3rd base. herO not able to make Archons just yet. That Templar Archives not quite finished. He needs Archons to defend this. Hopefully that will be able to buy time with the Mothership Core.
Yeah, that single pylon, by the way, kind of worries me here next to these gates and that Robo. If that were to be picked off, could be in danger, but I don't see any hint of a dropping towards the main base right now here. Charge finished. These Zealots are going to go to work. And Dark, so far, this hasn't done much. The Banelings get spotted here, which is a big deal. Queens are going to get spotted to try and take out the Mothership Core, but he's going to get close enough to a pylon to overcharge it.
And Archon's making the natural wall, and that's going to be really good for shutting this down. This attack hasn't really achieved anything just yet.
He's going to chase. He's on the hunt for the Mothership Core. Picks up the Queens. Void Ray now comes in, as well as some Archons.
That Void Ray is getting focused down. Transfuses are good on those Queens. Overcharge on the back of the mineral line isn't in range of anything. One Archon has already fallen. The 3rd base is exposed. Dark wants to secure that kill here. He needs to get that. herO is up on 58 probes. He's way up in workers. If he can keep the 3rd alive, he would be good. But no, Dark snipes down the 3rd. Queen's going to load up and start
The
harassing
Archons
the
are locked
natural.
out. Those Queens are going to be even, like, they're still going to be annoying. How is he supposed to deal with that? Archons cannot go through. He needs to warp in Zealots around his natural base. Here, obviously, the goal is going to be to retake his third base as soon as possible, but he still has to deal with this first.
The Oracle just flies into the Queens. The Warp Prism now having to ferry the Archons over there to try and deal with those Queens, but their transfuse on that Overlord doing really good. The hot pickup, is he going to save it? No! Nice shot from herO. Does snipe down that
The
Overlord.
Immortal's trapped.
Wow.
Don't kill the pylon. Whatever you do.
A lot of mistakes coming in here for herO.
Yeah.
A bit of sloppiness, of course. Dark putting the pressure on, but
actually
this is kind of uncharacteristic.
I didn't even think of the Prism picking up the Archons, and apparently neither did herO, because it took him some time to finally start using that to get the proper defense. He's still ahead on the Walker counts. Remember that herO already has Templar Archives. He's not using a Dark Shrine right now to make Archons. So if he wanted to, he could go into Storm and play a normal game from there, but his third base is so delayed that he might just get a ton of Archons, because he's already preserved his army count pretty well, and go for an attack here, which I think is in the plans pig.
Oh, but Dark here reading his opponent. He says, I know you're going to continue to be aggressive. He hasn't even droned up at all. He's just massing units. Zerglings find the open third base, take out 6 probes. Back at home, he's making a ton of roaches. He's got +2 melee on the way. Dark's going to snipe down that third. And, oh, Baneling dropping the main. 21 worker kills.
This is it. herO has to attack and win right now, otherwise he's going to be out of it. Dark is already getting roaches, which are going to be very good against Charge Lots and Archons, and it looks like he might have enough.
Oh, massive Charge Lot warp in coming in, but look at that roach count. Dark playing so safe here, barely droning up behind all of this. The Zealots coming in are doing some very good damage, but so many Lings wrapping around the Archons. Good hot pickups. The Immortals save, the Archons save. None of those value units going down just yet. The roach count falling. All of the Zerglings have actually gone down. herO might just barely have the numbers to break through. Dark fighting for his life right now, pulling back these units. The roach count is dwindling. The drones are pulled off the line. 11 workers have been killed. More and more Zealots warping in. I think herO is going to just barely be held, but he has done a lot of damage.
Yeah, what an absolute slugfest. Yeah, they both killed so many walkers from one another. 2 Warp Prisms still flying across this. Mothership came in like, I'll recall you guys. No, actually nothing's left, so not going to be able to do that. And herO's kind of running out of minerals. So remember Dark, he's got a third base, but also a 4th hatchery already set up, so he could very easily transfer walkers there and be in a fine position with the +2 melee on the way. All he has to make is Roach, Ravager, and maybe some Banes that he can still drop and kill more probes with.
There's only really one choice here for herO. Taking a third will just take far too long, and he is just going to make more Archons, Immortals, and I'm going to try to keep the pressure on. He's going to drop a third Nexus behind this to give himself some transitionary option, but he's still got 4 Archons on the front, or 3 Archons and an Immortal. He's going to keep on pushing. And Dark playing very safe. He's only built a few more drones and straight back into mass Roach Bane production.
This is a moment where Dark, like, he's never been so sure of one thing. He needs to make units. Like, he's made so many roaches already. He does still, like, I think when seeing the third Nexus, he's not sure, like, how much herO wants to take and macro behind this. So it did still start at, like, 2 drones, but he's still mostly focused on getting a ton of roaches out to make sure he doesn't take damage here from these Archons. And the goal here would be to shut down that Warp Prism eventually, but herO's been careful enough not to let that happen. Oh, he's going to snipe the hatch.
Really nice. 5 Zealots and the Archons, and if he can get out after that, that's going to be great. A couple of worker kills going down in the back of the natural as well. herO's such a scrappy player here, fighting very well from behind. He's going to lose the Zealots up there, but will save the Archons. Taking down a hatch, not a bad trade.
How many units have died this game? This is insanity. Like, it's absolute slugfest. We're at the 11th minute. This is what has died. 99 Zerglings, 26 walkers to 17 have been killed, 38 roaches. Like, this guy's going right at it, man. And trading a punch for a punch.
herO's got the third up behind it now as well. He's transferring workers, and he's got the better value units. You got to remember that +2 melee means Zerglings and Banelings are going to be very effective. Roach Ravager, not the most supply efficient units, but when you're up 72 or 75 army supply to just 40, that's going to be really nice. A couple of Archons are on the other side of the map. Only, oh man, Overcharge is so important to help defend here. There's so few units for herO.
Yeah, Overcharge's going to do a lot of damage. Like, these Pylons might go down soon. Actually, he needs to target that. Oh my god, he focuses on units here for a little bit, those Dark. He's going to get chased back here for...
Yeah, this is not a great fight from Dark. The Archons and the Immortals dishing out the hurt. The Warp Prism Micro, those 2 Archons coming in from the backside, trying to shut him down. Dark's attack falling flat. Dark here, he's stuck making Mass Roach Ravager. They've got no upgrades except for Roach Speed. and herO is making pure Immortal Archon, which is pretty much the best unit composition for dealing with that. I feel like herO, despite being in a very dicey position earlier, has somehow managed to stabilize.
Yeah, I think the big counter-attack, you know, after losing his third base was really what did it for him. He killed a lot of drones. I thought at first he was going to be defended more easily, but the Warpins were not stopped. I mean, there was nothing Dark could do about it, really. The Warp Prism was too well placed, and these Archons putting a ton of work. They lost their shields, actually, but still kind of stayed behind, did a ton of damage before finally falling, and herO, he's played fantastic here.
And this is really, I mean, it's herO in a nutshell, right? He gets in these impossible situations, but his micro is so good. The ability to just save these important units time and time again, just being very, very efficient. A ton of Archon charge lot Immortal pushing in here.
And this is when the supply is the most deceiving as well here. Not only Dark is behind in army, it's Roaches mostly.
Oh, only a couple Banelings in there, and that is a ton of charge lots. Charge lots very effective against Roaches here when they are in even numbers. And actually picking up units and dropping the Zealots on top of the Roach Ravager as that Immortal Archon moves forward. herO, power overwhelming. The Immortal Archon charge lot push cleaves through Dark and secures a very scrappy Game 1 victory.
Really nicely put together, played to his image. Even I was convinced that he was going to go for mass gateways and for a big aggression, but no. Just takes the third, takes his sweet time. Dark commits on a lot of units, and herO, that's his comfort zone here. If he can keep a Zerg low on drone count, despite him massing units that are still going to be very dangerous, he's going to be the one thriving in these situations, counter-attacking at the right time, and doing just enough damage to get ahead and finish things off later on.
Beautiful play from herO, and a frustrating situation for Dark. You could kind of see the cogs in his head working. You could see him saying, you know what, I've seen the Robo, I've seen the Twilight, I've seen the Forge, I've seen this kind of late third, but I haven't seen any pressure. I can't tell what's going on, this Void Rays denying vision, and you could tell Dark was trying to add everything up, play a very balanced, safe game. He never went past 50 workers, and that whole early stage, he went for that big attack on the third with the Queen Zergling. He made Roaches behind it. It felt like he was balancing everything perfectly, but herO with that Archon push, I still am so surprised that he actually managed to equalize there. And then, you know, I think Dark still had some opportunities to come back later on. Maybe macro up, play a bit more defensively. The Roach push, not the correct idea against the Immortal Archon defense. And as you pointed out, maybe he should have focused those pylons down a little bit quicker, been a bit more decisive.
When the double prism really came into play, that's when herO kicked into full gear. Like, it's very hard to counter prisms properly, right? Like, he had some spores, he had some queens, but realistically not enough. Like, without Hydralisk, like, those guys are gonna reign supreme across the skies, pick up everything, and then that's when Archon started doing damage. And they got consistent damage. Actually, the prism micro and map awareness here by herO was insane. He caught some overlords in the middle of the map, some of them even had units in them. It was just insane. Like, despite losing, what was it, like 21 probes in his main base from the Baiting drop, he was like, you know what? I don't even care. I'm just going to attack and kill you.
That was brutal, man. Yeah, the Ling run by Fai on the third as well, but he hung on in there in those chaotic games. And we are going to be diving into map number 2. All right, here we are going into Catalina. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map. In the blue, it is Dark.
His opponent in the reds, playing for Team Root Gaming. It is herO. Definitely passing the Zerg test so far this tournament. Solid games against Elaser and now against Dark so far.
And this map, a lot of Zerg players have been saying, I kind of like this one against Protoss. It's hard for them to defend their third and fourth, but herO is a special case. He's a guy who loves these aggressive maps. The rush distance is relatively small here on Catalina, and it's quite hard to kind of get between your bases to defend. This is a map we've seen a lot of Protoss players have a lot of success with Adepts, and not only that, the Oracles. We keep talking about Oracles, but why is it so powerful on this map? It's because there is a 360-degree arc on pretty much any base where you can come in from. There's all this dead area behind. These Oracles can come from pretty much any angle, and that makes stasis traps especially very powerful. It's hard to have your Spore Crawlers and your Queens in the correct position. Really easy to just lose a bunch of mining time. We saw, of course, herO destroy a laser with those stasis traps yesterday on here. On Catalina.
Why do Zergs say that they like this map against Protoss? Because the third base is like in a weird position that is very hard to defend against big pushes. Whereas Zerg maybe not as affected by that, How do Protosses counter that? Well, by doing big aggressions that really will punish Zerg and actually try to use the map to their advantage as well. That's what herO did yesterday. Now, if you know that and you're Dark, you just go the extra mile with the scouting, you check what you're up against, you defend it, and as much as last game, I mean, it wasn't really possible in a way because herO, you know, he did take the third base, he made a lot of probes, and he wasn't actually going to go for a big attack. On this map, it's a lot more likely. And then if we go into a normal game, Dark sees herO playing standard, you know, taking the third base and teching, he's going to be happy to go into this kind of game. That's what he would rather. So just put enough emphasis on scouting, I think. Again, is going to be key for Dark here.
Absolutely. Going to have to scout out what this tricky Protoss player is up to. And we do see on that production tab, it is going to be a Stargate opening once again from herO. No surprises really there. The surprise is always how many Oracles does he build? Does he do something crazy like get a Void Ray first in that last game? Are we going to see him go straight into a Twilight Council and get those Adept upgrades afterwards? That's what really keeps the Zerg players guessing. And that's what herO, of course, is going to strive to hide from his opponent. Dark going for a third base. All things standard so far. And maybe starting up Overlord speed in just a few moments. We're going to have to keep our eye on whether or not he wants to invest in that.
He already has the gas, did spot the Stargates. And he's going to be able to see what comes out of there, whether it's a Void Ray or Oracle this time around. herO going for the more normal routes with the one Oracle.
I love that adjustment from Dark, just saying, you know what, I've seen the Stargate. Let's just skip on the Overlord speed, get a few more workers out. One of the most important things in StarCraft is building up your economy and kind of getting into a good enough position to deal with the aggression. And Dark is saying, you know what, against herO, I'm going to make sure I save every bit of money to get my early drone count up. Ooh, nice shade there. These Adepts not going down just yet. The Zergling's going to be hunting him down. They want to finish off that Adept. It looks like the Adept will just barely fall. But quite a few Zerglings going down in return.
Yeah, and second Oracle's already on the way here. The first one's flying towards the third base of Dark here, which is not finished yet. Might just wait for two. No, she's gonna poke the middle line here.
Look at the worker
Spawn
count.
not finished yet.
Already herO is in a worker lead and gonna grab a few workers on top of that. Ooh, only one actually. Good micro from Dark, pulling back the weakened drones. But you know, herO has been chrono boosting his probes non-stop. Hasn't taken a single gap in worker production. A lot of players will try to cut just a little bit here or there to squeeze out the aggression, but herO, knowing players are treating him as such a scary, aggressive player, focusing on that economy instead, and we're going to see the same follow-up from last game. This is a sort of movement I've seen a little bit more from herO recently, where he still opens up with the potential for aggression, does some pressure, but then often does just take the third base and continue the game plan. And we're seeing these Zerg players caught in this middle ground where they're not sure, do they need to build fighting units? Do they need to build their economy? And that confusion is what is really the secret to herO's success.
And that would be playing to his image as well. Remember we did that against Laser with a lot of gateways charged and actually going for the big attack. Like, you can be sure that Dark watched those games and that he's going to be wary of this potential attack. You should be very careful about. So now Templar Archives is on the way. As much as last game herO went for Archons, you have to wonder, like, if he hadn't been so pressured, would he maybe have gone straight away into Storm?
I wonder, it was such a fast Templar Archives, it might have just been for the more efficient gas-heavy Archons, of course, allowing you to get a lot more charge lots alongside them, whereas the Dark Templar Archon's much more mineral-heavy, costing a lot more resources overall.
That Phoenix is on strike, man.
Yeah, he went past the Overlord before and was just barely out of the aggro range, and herO didn't notice. So Dark not taking as much Overlord losses as you might have expected, and he's going to be going into safety roaches. So Dark really appreciating how dangerous the situation could get. And there we go, 4 High Templar coming in once again. herO just loves these fast Archon charge lot attacks. +1 and charge are going to be lining up as well. A ton of gateways going down along with this third base.
What do you think about the third base location here by Dark? Taking it like a little bit more forward, like towards the Protoss, as opposed to above his natural?
A bit easier to defend from air, but definitely harder from some ground assaults. Here, having it such a short access mode. Stasis Trap going to go down, going to grab about 4 workers there. Not bad, and those Archons, of course, looking to poke into the main. We are seeing Immortals and Pro production on the way behind this. herO is not all in right now, but he is going to commit more than a little to this.
It seems like herO is content just playing with Archons, Charge Lots, and Immortals against this Roach-based kind of army. And I mean, last game he had success with it, so it's going to keep on that route here for now. Elevates out some Archons and Zealots there.
A few Stasis Traps have been denied on the back of the natural by Dark, so hats off to him for that. Mentioned earlier how a Laser took a few big Stasis Traps and took big damage from it. In this case,
He's
Dark
gonna go for it.
only really losing a few drones worth of mining time.
I'm a bit surprised by this move out because herO took the third base and I thought he was going to saturate that a bit more, but he's only on 46 walkers, so he's still going for an aggression despite making probes right now in the meantime.
The Baneling Nest isn't ready just yet. Of course, herO here wants to get in before those Banelings can deal with the charge lots. There's a lot of Roaches though, as well as some Queens. I'm not sure if herO's going to commit to this. More Archons and charge lots. He is committed right now. He has to go for this.
Yeah, and the Baneling Nest just finished here. There are no links though in that location just yet. herO's gonna go for it. Pulls back at the last second. I mean, he's making probes. He might just pull back. He's already forced so much machines because like he would be committing this army. He's gonna go for it here. Charge loss closing the distance on those Roaches. War Prism is forced back by one single spore there. The Archons and Immortal going to work, but there's so much army here from Dark to defend this.
He's just got to save those power units. If herO can get those out of there, he's traded off his cheap units, his Zealots, and he got a 6 Stasis Ward down.
Maybe he can chase Glare. Reconstitution is about to finish. He was missing for the whole fight here. If Dark could punish and get these units, he could actually elevate everything inside of the main base, but herO gonna choose to turn around and try and fight this anyway.
Oh, the Biles actually missed the War Prism there. Uncharacteristic poor aim from Dark, and his Roaches just getting routed by these charge lots. Even though Dark still has the supply lead, it is Roach supply. Yeah, they've got a +1 upgrade, but they're still Roaches. They're not that efficient in the long term. However, herO has not started Storm, just steadily rallying out these Immortals across the map. They're going to give him a good anchor against those Roaches.
A second Prism actually being made. I was wondering last game, you know, like the timing that he made it, you know, is it a mistake? Like, does he mean to have like 2 Prism in 2 different locations? Kind of kept them together. And he did a fantastic job in some of these fights, picking up with 2 Prism, not 1 but 2. A lot of these power units, like you call them, to save them, let them regenerate their shields, and then go back into the fight again. So we're going to see that once more.
Oh, so many good stasis traps have landed. This time the Queens are here to punish, and they do take down that Oracle. Dark only really taking that one really big stasis ward in the main while he was defending that push. Here we go, both armies posturing. That's a ton of Roaches. Some Banelings morphing with this as well. Dark knows if he can counteract those Zealots with the Banelings, he's going to be able to take on this army. He's just got the numbers right now.
I think herO's wanted to go for an attack, and then he saw this army. He's like, oh really, you're attacking me? So he kind of pulled back. He's regrouping there. Banelings are going to start to come in there. The splits are good here from herO so far. He moves back all of the Zealots.
Great
They're not going to take any damage from the
Banelings are coming through, but there's so many Zealots. The Immortals already very low. Time Warp going down in desperation. Immortals starting to be focused down. The Roach count, though, so low. The micro from herO. Both Immortals surviving in the red hit points. Every single Roach and Ravager falls. And Dark, he's left down 10 workers. His army is in pieces. The timing attack did not work.
So sick. These 2 Immortals on red hit points. herO would have been a fantastic Warcraft 3 player, let me tell you that. He's going to press forward here. More Archons and Charge Lots being warped in. Remember, he's got +2 as well already against only the +1 missile of Dark, which is, I mean, at this stage in the game, you're not going to do much with that.
Wow, great Zergling counterattack coming in on the 3rd there for Dark. Going to do some economic damage. But the real question is, can he defend the push at home? And it looks like, oh, he's actually going to force a recall. Half of herO's army recalling to defend this base. Overcharge going to go down. This is going to buy Dark a little bit of valuable time.
Dark is fishing for these units out on the map. He knows that some of them are going to be left behind, so he's going forward. War Prism is still there to save those Prisms. They've really been the key here with the micro from herO to really make this kind of strat work, because without that, as good micro as is, you just get defended, you lose everything, and then the game's over. But this is not over yet. Dark, despite being behind in Walker earlier, he's kind of evened that with the Zergling counter-attack here on the 3rd base a second ago.
This
but
army is
still
the
under
big
pressure.
problem, though. There's just not enough Roaches to deal with that many Archons and Immortals. The Banelings, oh, they don't get the connections. The Zealots all pull back. And now that army is going to make mincemeat out of him. A couple of probe kills on the backside. Not going to be able to make a difference. That hatchery is going to go down. The Roaches are trying to hide behind it. The Immortals just don't care. They blast it down. And herO here with absolutely incredible PVZ takes down